Ludwigia Pantanal. This is a variant of inclinata, so Ludwigia inclinata Pantanal. Why is it called Pantanal? It comes from the area of Pantanal in southwest Brazil. This is a plant that comes from kind of estuaries and whatnot where it does have significantly soft water, so be aware that is something you're going to have set up ahead of time if you're going to get this plant in. One of the reasons this plant is so difficult and strange is the significant difference between its emergent grown and its submerged grown. Emergent, it has typically green, oval, Ludwigia looking leaves. Under the water, it has these really fine red leaves that will grow kind of compact into the top portion of the plant. So a very compact, red, thin-leaved plant that just looks fantastic. It looks amazing, but it is kind of a higher demanding plant. Now be aware, you do need what's considered high light or efficient lighting. I happen to go more of the efficient lighting route. I happen to have two of the Fluval 3.0s over this 150-gallon aquarium here. I would not consider that to be a highlight situation, but these lights work very effectively and work out quite well. This is a plant that will 100% require you to give it CO2. So if you don't have CO2, you might be able to grow this plant. I wouldn't recommend it. Chances are it's probably just going to be like putting some money into your aquarium and watching it melt away into nothing. And that's depressing. So if you have CO2, if you have softer water, and you have some decent substrate and light, you should be fine. I wouldn't be that stressed out about it. I currently am using Aquarium Co-op Easy Green and Easy Iron as my fertilization, which is going in about 2 times a week at this point, but I'm doing a half of a dose, so it's sort of standard dosing, just spaced out throughout the week. I had this plant a couple of years ago. Maybe when I say a couple of years ago, maybe it's a little longer than that, but got some in about 6 to 8 months ago to kind of mess around with it and put it in 3 of my different tanks. Now, that being said, I've had some ins and outs and ups and downs with it. It does have a tendency to grow some algae on it and whatnot if it's too close to the light, which is irritating because it's a highlight plant and you kind of want it to get close to the light so that it can get more light. Obviously, this is one of those plants where it's sort of a balancing act to keep it happy, and right now I'm having to relocate it as a part of my testing process to kind of see where it could exist in the tank and where not. Here it's on the kind of the outskirts of the tank, and my reasoning for that was to see if it really was shaded out, would it stop growing? Not really, because we have enough CO2, we have enough fertilization in this tank. It seems that it will still grow, but it ends up growing quite tall instead of wide. So I'm moving it back to the middle of the aquarium because I'm trying to encapsulate the width of this plant. I want this plant to grow wide, so I'm moving it back to an area where it'll hopefully start to convert in that direction. Most of my planted tanks, I'm doing stuff like this. I'm not necessarily going about it in the super scientific way. I'm kind of going about it in the way that most other people could apply in their homes or whatever workspace that you have set up for your aquariums. So hopefully it's helpful for you to see how this is. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, the like button, the join button, the Patreon button. There's a million freaking buttons. I understand. It's crazy. You have to hit a bell, and then you have to make the bell vibrate and do all this nonsense. I understand. It's buck wild, but we are a fan-funded affair around here, so if you feel like, hey, this is information that could be helpful to you or at least entertaining, go ahead and hit us up with a little bit of help if you want. If not, hey, I appreciate you showing up, and I hope you have fun out there, because that's the main thing. That's the whole thing for doing any of this stuff, is that it's fun. And maybe mentally therapeutic, too. So there's that. You know, that's helpful, too, I think. All right. Later? Later. Stop recording.